I think we're live. We may be live. We are live. How's everybody doing today? I hope everyone is having a great weekend. We made it to another Saturday. So this is the airbrush portion of our pastel painting. So basically, this is a real surprise for those who are in the airbrush world, because that's how I started with airbrush. I use airbrush as a underpainting for my pastel paintings, and I'm actually going to show you that today, which is going to be very exciting. So give me a quick shout out that the sound and the picture quality is acceptable, and if it's good, I want to hear if it's good, and if it's incredible, I want to hear that it's incredible. So this is pretty cool. I'm going to go a little bit over the 1 hour today, just because I love you guys. That's all. So let's see what we have, who we have today. Hey, we have Cool Kids. How's it going? Great to see you. Mr. Lang. How's it going, Steve? All the way from the UK. Thank you for staying up. Colette, how are you? Wisconsin. And then we have Total Pain. John, how's it going? Great to see you. And I think that's everybody so far. Okay, I think people will start trickling in, because this is something that you're not going to get in any airbrush live stream. Really, you're not going to get anywhere else. Not only that, I made boards today. So I actually made... Oh, thank you, John. I love you too, bro. That is great. And so here is the board I made. They will be available if you are interested in buying some of these boards. What's great is a mixture of marble dust and gesso and water, and then I apply it with a roller. But the mixing process is, it's pretty in depth. The great thing about it is that you could work on this in airbrush, full airbrush painting, and you can work on it in pastel, full pastel painting. Working on wood is so much better than working on any kind of paper, trust me. So today was funny. It was the first time I projected in over a year. And I did pretty good. My projector actually worked after all these years. I put it in a box. That's why I couldn't find it. But I thought that was great. I made a bunch of them. Where are they? So yeah, I made little 6x6s, and this is 9 by 12, which is a great size. So very cool. So let's see. Yeah, so I think we could just jump right into it. I have the detail mixture in my airbrush. Let me move this young lady over here. And let's see. It's going to be a little light today because it is just a line drawing, right? So, all right. So I have in my Extreme Patriot Arrow, customized by moi, and I have the detail mixture, which is a 50-50 detail mix and water in here, which is really cool. Thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. And John says sound incredible, so that's good. It's perfect, Steve says, so that is great. So we got good sound, good picture quality. I have some water. I even got off of the that lemonade powder that had only 5 calories. So trying to be even healthier, you know. I'm trying. So okay, so let's jump right into it, shall we? We're going to use the beauty of the DSLR. Now, notice I'm not doing a black and white version of this because I'm thinking in color, even in the underpainting, even though I'm doing a monochromatic black and white using the airbrush paints, I'm thinking in color. So it's all about color with this one. So what I'm going to do is now this is a lot different than working on the Canson paper, so you have to think differently. You can't go as close because paper is much softer than wood, right? So right now I'm going super light, And I'm not trying to, build Rome in a day, right? This is something that takes time. And you really have to worry about oversaturating this, because if you do, it'll make you pay immediately with spidering and skating and all of that stuff. Keep that 1 second rule going. Increase your distance, and then you get a lighter value. So this is a lot different working on this than if you're working on paper. So just keep that in mind. This is much lighter. The under eyelid, it's much lighter. So I'm going to increase my distance. So you see how I can get that almost watercolor look, right guys? That's important. You want that watercolor look. Again, increasing my distance. Remember, we're working on white, not on gray. So you're thinking differently, right? When you're working on gray, you could use the gray of that paper to help you out, so to speak. But you don't have that when you're working on white. So just keep thinking differently. Now, there are great advantages to working on white. You have that glow of the paper, almost like having, like a stained glass in a sense, So Colette, how was your barbecue? Colette was going to have a barbecue today. Oh, fantastic. So anyone who is interested in purchasing the boards, let me know, and I'll put them on the website, and I'll email you guys. So anyone is interested. Now, the great thing about the boards, you can do anything. You can airbrush on them and then do pastel. And not only do pastels, but as many layers as possible. And I guarantee once you use this board, you will really be surprised how much you love it. Now, you need an airbrush with like incredible control to actually do something like this, because you're working on a very hard surface. So if, let's say, you were working with an Eclipse or one of those airbrushes that are made for detail and subtlety, and not only that, of using something like my Airbrush India inks, which are diluted so much that you can gradually come in there. So it's very important to have the right tools when you're doing something like this. Once again, this is going to be a pastel portrait, and we're working with my Airbrush India inks, which works perfect with this technique. Like I said before earlier, this is how I started working in airbrush, was doing it as an underpainting for my, hey Brad, how's it going? Good to see you. So this is basically, how I began with the airbrush, how I came to it, because I said to myself, this would make an incredible underpainting for pastel, for oils, for anything. This would be the ultimate underpainting. Why is it the ultimate underpainting? Because you can go very light, and you can dilute these inks further than you can do any paint on the market. Number two, they're waterproof, so if you do come over it with another layer, either this or paint or watercolor, it does not reactivate. So it will never reactivate because these are waterproof, which is really cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be about 1 or 2 values lighter than we want to. Because it's an underpainting, we don't want to put more layers on the correct value, more layers of pigment. And this is true whether you're working in oils, airbrush, anything. Over an underpainting is you want it to be on the light side, right? It needs to be on the light side. So when you do subsequent layers of color, you're going to arrive at the perfect value. So it's all about planning. Okay, so let me do this eyebrow. Did I do the eyebrow? Let's give it another shot. All right, so let's see how that looks. Okay, so you see, not bad, right? Not bad at all. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Brad. So thank you for that. So let's continue. And like always, you guys all know me as I like to move around. So what's the great thing about learning new techniques is that you add it to your repertoire. You add it to your weaponry. You add it to things that you can draw upon. I haven't worked on this technique in quite some time. And, you know, it was like riding a bicycle, everybody. It really was. You know, when I went ahead and did the underpainting, I did the projecting. You know, it was just like old times. Keep that 1 second rule going, partners. Perpendicular and not parallel, okay? And don't go too dark too early, and don't get too close to your subject or your board, because you will get spidering. So you thought that I was patient when it came to working with the paper. Wait till you see this, you know? So that's really cool. So let's see what we have here. Yep, let's continue here a little bit. When you're trying to find, you know, the right angle for your freehand shield, be patient, you'll get it. Just look for it, okay? Wait for it. Here. Now the only thing is, on this board, you may smudge the pencil a little bit. That's all good. Increasing my distance, decreasing my distance when I want to go darker. Increasing my distance, right? Now, can someone tell me why I'm not using a freehand shield when I'm doing the contour of the face? Just a little quiz. Let's see what you guys and girls have to say. So, I'm not using a freehand shield to get this edge. Can someone tell me why? Nameless, how's it going? Good to see you. Yes, every Saturday, my friend. So this is a pastel painting. So, every Saturday I do a pastel live stream now, and which is really great. And also, I'm not alienating my airbrush people because this is an airbrush underpainting for a pastel. Exactly, Steve, you got it correct. It's because the hair is darker and there's really no need. I still have that pencil line when I come into the hair and take care of that. So very astute, sir. Very cool. So I'm going to be working today in the black and white underpainting, and next week we're going to come in with the color. So, I'll probably resolve everything off camera, but just to show you, when you work on board, you're going to have to project it. And of course, I'm going to establish the hair. Get that really beautiful hard edge of her jaw. Perpendicular and not parallel. Let's move on over here. So here's something I want to show you. So if you look at our reference today of this young lady, and let's look at her jaw, right? So you see the shadow is coming from below, right? The cast shadow is coming from below up until right about here. And then you notice that the shadow is actually on this side and not here. So you see it's darker on this side, but once you get over here, it's darker on this side. Those are little things I want you to really, look for, because those are the things that are going to really, if you miss that, it's going to make your life a lot harder and you'll have to fix it later. So just be aware of all those subtle changes that go on. And let's see. Oh, yeah, so Colette said avoid hard edges. Not in this particular case, because that is a hard edge, Colette. I was just making a note that it was the fact that, it's much darker. So even if I do overspray into the hair, I'm going to go much darker than that. But yes, edges are so important. So I do appreciate your answer, Always have to look for edges. So that's cool, Colette. Thanks. Okay, so let's work on her mouth. Oh, that's okay, Nameless. So that's cool. So yeah, I'm excited about these Saturday night streams. So if anyone wants to know if it matters, I'm much more well known as a pastel painter than I am as an airbrush artist. And so that was before I even touched an airbrush. I was working in pastel. And I was working in pastel since the 80s. I'm a elected signature member of the Pastel Society of America. I have over 30, maybe even more, of national, international awards for my pastels. Won many, many awards for pastels. I have been asked to judge shows because of my pastels. My pastels have been in major art museums in the United States. She's so pretty. Is that my daughter? No, that's my future ex-wife. Let's see. Let's just come over here. Come down here like this. Let's bring this over. And you can see how I'm working on the upper lip and just slowly dealing with the values, right? I'm not trying to solve equations right now. I'm just basically sketching, right? Think of it as sketching. Very light. Remember, I'm working on white, so I need to make the value, if it's not white, I need to make the value a little bit darker. So that's basically what I'm doing. Hey, Nameless, how you doing? That's a fair enough question. But I've been painting portraits since I was a kid. And that's kind of my thing. So when you're in the art world, you know, you don't want to be a jack of all trades. You definitely want to specialize in one thing. And, you know, some might say it's boring or whatever. But here's my take on that. Is that if I want to be the best that I can be, I can't spread myself out too thin. And I think that's really important, to get really good at one thing. I think if now, perhaps, you know, people might find it, you know, why don't I do other things? But here's my point as well, that there are some amazing people who specialize in landscapes and specialize in still lives and, you know, stuff like that, and cat paintings and all of that stuff. So my contention is those are the people who you should go to for that, right? Because that's what they're passionate about. And I'm passionate about portraits. I'm passionate about trying to see deeply, you know? That's so important, to see deeply. And I believe it was Beethoven who said that if you have perseverance, the muses will reveal themselves to you, you know? And then other people will say that, you know, your art will reveal itself to you. And that's what I feel. I think, and it's a good question, but for me and my life, you know, I definitely, I want to get to a level of painting portraits that is extraordinary. So let's say someone wants to see a portrait, they know, oh yeah, that guy Tim, he does portraits. But I'm so passionate about this, Nameless, you know? So, I mean, for me, it's exciting, and it gets me out of bed in the morning. And but like I said, you know, if you want portraits or something like that, or someone wants portraits, then the way to go is to find someone who specializes in that. You don't want to be a jack of all trades, you know? It doesn't serve us to go ahead and be a jack of all different subject matter. It really is important for us to really hone in on one thing and try and perfect it to, higher and higher levels. You know what I mean? Oh, thank you. Yeah, so definitely, Steve, it's cool to once in a while to play around or you get a portrait of a dog. I mean, I love that. That's fun, and I appreciate that. Also, but that was a portrait painting that I commissioned with the dog. I might do a still life here and there, but it doesn't thrill me, and it's not what I want to be known for. And so my thing is find out what you're passionate about, and you're passionate about painting. That's good. Then find out what medium you're passionate about, and then find out what subject matter you're passionate about, and you see how that works, and then you could really just really concentrate on what it is that really gets your blood pumping, you know. Hey, thank you, John. John says hit that like button. And so I appreciate that, John. Always looking out. Thank you, sir. Okay, so why an underpainting, right? Why don't I just go in, guns blazing, and just go straight in with pastel? Because another thing that I like specializing in is I like precision. I'm a drafts person. Drafts, I used to call it draftsman. Now I say drafts person, right? I love line. I love everything associated with line and drawing and everything like that. So if I can go ahead and get the precision of drawing, that to me is a win, right? So that's so important. And we all want to find our way of doing it. When I was going to the High School of Art and Design, and I studied with really advanced painters, Erwin Greenberg, Max Ginsberg. I mean, these guys, I was getting an education that people in college never even had when they were majoring in art. So, but they used to always say, real men paint with big brushes. I remember that expression. And then I was like, yeah, but I don't like that. I like drawing and I love line, but they're like, no. And I was a good student, a dutiful student. And I went ahead and I did that. And I did that for years. And then I went away to college and I studied art history with a Robert Skinner, Dr. Robert Skinner at Long Island University. And then we would go from the Renaissance actually from the pre-Renaissance all the way to the Stone Age, and then we went up to the Renaissance. And then the second semester, we went from the Renaissance all the way to 20th century painting. And then we went to the neoclassical painters. And when I saw the work of Ingres and Jacques-Louis David and William Bouguereau, I just lost it, because for the first time I was actually looking at an artist that seen things the way I did, looking at a group of painters, which is a strong drawing. Get your drawing down, right? Get your drawing down first. Then that's what we did, got our drawing down. Then we get down our values, right? We get that down. Then we go into color. So why would you want to juggle three balls, right? Why don't you just take one ball, do what you have to, take the second ball, do what you have to, take the third ball, and finish it up. So that's what they started doing in the 19th century. Well, the 18th century with Jacques-Louis David, and then his student was Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres, and then after that, in the mid to late 19th century, you had artists like Jules Joseph Lafay and William Bouguereau and those guys. So really fantastic, And let's see. So Nameless says he always prided himself as being a jack of all trades. He liked to be proficient enough at anything to at least get by, even if not perfect. Having said that, I've always leaned towards portraits. Cool. Because portraits and the figure are the highest form of the Western tradition of painting and sculpture. And Colette says, I think portraits are the most skilled art. Very true. If you don't get a likeness of the person, you've got nothing. Very true. Nameless says, portrait is in his experience, can be the most challenging yet most gratifying art projects if done right. So true. So very true. And I will drink to that. Let's see. I walked 2 miles today. How was that? So I wanted to get some bread, some rolls, and some fruit. And I was like, that's healthy. So why don't I just walk? So I walked it. And I think that's going to be my new tradition, is walking to get the rolls and walking to get the bread. I mean the fruit. So that was great. It felt good, but it's so weird because no one ever walks anywhere, and that's a mile there, a mile back. But everyone's looking at me like, what's the matter with him? His car broke down, right? So that's basically what happens in New Jersey. Is if you're walking, you must not have a car, or your car broke down. But I just want to be healthy. That's all. Freehand shield time. Maintain that beautiful edge. Let's do the same with her hair. So I've already been airbrushing today for about 3 hours. So this would be hour 4, and if I stay longer, be hour 4 plus. Oh no, I drive, definitely. Been driving since I was in my early 20s, and but I just really, number one, I want to thumb my nose up to the gas companies, and I want to walk or take mass transit as much as possible. And that's what we Americans should do. We should, you want to bring the prices up? Well, we'll just boycott them and see, how far they'll go without having people buy their gas. I think if we did that as a group, I think the prices would go down. But so there's this thing. Have you ever seen the movie? The movie is called A Beautiful Mind, and it's about John Nash. And so he became famous for the Nash equilibrium, right? Which is really amazing. And what Nash's equilibrium says is that if the group does not look for an individual, if it does not look for individual gain, but does it in, acts in response or in to try and support the group, then. So what he said, what it was, so there was like 5 guys and 5 girls, and all the girls were cute, but there was one girl who was like super beautiful. She was the blonde. And so what Nash actually, with his thought process was that his paper on this was that if the group if they all don't go for the blonde, and okay, so there was 5 girls and that one gorgeous girl, five girls, and then and one of them was the gorgeous blonde. There was 4 guys, and if each of those 4 guys go for the ones that isn't the very beautiful one, then all the guys will end up with a girl. So that's Nash's equilibrium. So I'm saying all that to say this, right? Is that if we stop, using our cars even 20% in response to the prices going up, it will hurt the gas companies so much that they will have to lower the price. But unfortunately, we don't act we don't act on behalf of the betterment of the group or society. We pretty much act what's best for us, like going on vacation or driving everywhere. And then the gas companies are like, oh, thank you very much. We'll pocket that money. And of course, so that's basically Nash's equilibrium at its finest. Of course, I did not explain that, right? But great movie, by the way. Let's see. Based on a true story, one of his favorite movies, he went insane but was a genius. Very true, John Nash. Guess it's true what they say about the fine line between genius and insanity. I think if someone's a genius, they're just so different that people will, a lot of times, will see them as, awkward or crazy. But they just look at the world differently. And you know what? They're always thinking, so they don't have the skills socially that other people do, because they're not always in their own head. So popcorn is a good one. And let's see. Speaking of food, any diabetics out there? Nameless says, only asked because he feels he may need to start eating healthier. I love vegetable juicing. That makes me happy. And I started doing that again. Anyone out there doing vegetable juicing? Last night I made my green juice for the first time. I'm going to do it again tonight. And I bought some Granny Smith apples for my juice today. Ooh. Did not paint the iris. Let's make that happen, partners. There we go. So you see, this is a different approach, but it's different from, not different from me, but different of what you know of me, right? Like I said, I've been working in pastel for many, many years, and I've been working in airbrush since 2010. So I decided to only work in airbrush publicly for a while. I still worked in pastel, but publicly I wanted to just, kind of lose some of my reputation, so people will my established reputation, so people will see me not as a pastel painter working in airbrush, but as an airbrush artist. Now I feel like I'm established enough in the airbrush world that I can start going back into my pastels. Tim, what about teas? Do you recommend? Oh, yeah. I love the matcha tea, green matcha tea with lemon. Oh my God, that's fantastic. All that antioxidants that are in there, Nameless, you would just love that. And it tastes good. So yeah, so definitely that's fantastic. I recommend date sugar, which is really fantastic, and palm sugar as a substitute for regular sugar. It's all natural, And so that's, if you're going to have sugar, definitely go that route. So you see, there she's coming, right? She's definitely making herself known a little bit. There we go. And of course I'm going to darken as I go. So what we're doing here, so what are we doing? We're basically doing an underpainting so we can come over this with pastel. The pencil is going to be erased once I go ahead and establish the black and white underpainting with the Airbrush India inks. These Airbrush India inks work incredible for an underpainting for pastel, and I recommend that for pastel painters who haven't tried it. Also, those of you who are actually doing my airbrush techniques, I recommend you giving this a try. You're going to fall in love with pastels. Now that's just not my opinion. You will, because working in pastels is like an extension of your fingertips. That's what Harvey Dinnerstein was, who I studied with for many years in New York City at the National Academy School of Fine Arts. And he is one of the most renowned pastel painters of the 20th and 21st century. And I'm telling you, learning under him with pastels is probably one of my biggest blessings as an artist. Because before then, in the 20th century, pastels was really thought as an afterthought, something to do preparatory studies for an oil painting. And Harvey and also his friend Daniel Green and Burton Silverman, they're all friends, and they started using pastels as a fully realized painting. And I'll tell you, the work that they have been doing is just out of this world. And they carried the torch for someone like me, who was a young man in the 80s. And, when I discovered pastel, I kind of stopped working in oils because I totally fell in love with pastel. Now, I totally fell in love with oils when I first seen them, right? Because it was like, oh my God, these are the greatest things. Oil paints are wonderful, they're full of tradition, like the old masters, and that was great. And I studied about 5 years with oil painting, in high school, and then at the Art Students League with George Passantino. And then I worked, after George Passantino, I worked with Harvey Dinnerstein, and then I worked with Ron Scher, and I worked with them with oils. And then one day I was asking Harvey, because I read his book, I was like, I want to try pastels, can I do that with you? He said sure. And that was in about 1988, 87. And then I just never looked back. It was pretty much pastels for the next 20 years. And after that, I was working, and then I stumbled over airbrush. And it was just, airbrush was just for, all airbrush was for underpainting. It wasn't anything in its own right. But what made me really fall in love with it was that airbrushing was so much fun, and it kind of, like a no-brainer, really freed me up for a lot of things. And I was like, holy cow, this is really amazing. Oh, Cool Idea says, weak foundation in anything ends nowhere. Oh, thank you there, cool kids. I appreciate it. And let's see here. Don't think that's wood, but that did get me thinking. Would you ever consider painting a portrait on something else, like a piece of wood furniture or pastel? Would I ever think of consider painting a portrait? Yeah, definitely. Definitely for a commission, that's for sure. You know. Um, yeah, I mean, I painted on wood, I painted on metal, I painted on a lot of different surfaces, paper, cardboard, illustration board. Remember, I've been doing this for a long time. So long I don't even want to say because it's going to make me feel old. But yes, uh, over the years, I've pretty much done it all. But I'm always looking for new things, new ways of doing things. So like this technique you're looking at right now, working on the masonite, this is something I haven't done in a couple of years. But you know what? It's just, it's a tool I have now. So, if you work differently, always remember you have those tools. Never forget them. And because they'll be, and keep those tools sharp, right? Don't let them get rusty. And let's see. Okay. All right. So let's work further down here on her body, and let's see. Remember, it's going to look a little blotchy at first because you're painting on white, and whenever you're doing a layer on white of anything, whether you're doing pastel or oil or even, airbrush, you're going to get a little bit of blotchiness in the beginning, but as you do subsequent layers, it evens out. And your friend and mine, the freehand shield, perpendicular and not parallel. Okay, so you pastel people out there, I know you're out there. You might not be talking, or you might be watching this after it's over. If you actually want to learn the airbrush, let me know. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Good to see you. Basically, I can teach you how to control this airbrush, so you can use it for your pastel paintings. Always try. Am I low on ink? Nope, I'm good. So if ever it doesn't come out, it's usually a little bit of tip dry. So there we go. We're back in business. So this is great, this technique, because it's great for airbrush artists because it gives them a way that they can use their airbrush techniques to go into another medium. And that medium is pastel. And you'll find that pastel is very, very conducive with airbrush. They work together. So definitely think about it. Mexican sweetbread. I also had Puerto Rican sweetbread. That stuff is incredible. They actually sell it at the Walmart by us. So when you're airbrushing, just follow the grain of the hair, right? Follow the grain of the skin. So this is freehand airbrush at its finest right here. Like I said, with each layer you'll get less and less blotchy when you're working in white. And I'm just going to continue with the initial layers, right? And we have an opportunity to establish the dark of the hair, perpendicular and not parallel. Just pull that edge. Another advantage of wood, you can use sandpaper, you can use scratching, razor blade techniques, you can do erasing techniques for negative detail, right? So, which is really amazing. So many advantages of wood. Plus, it lasts forever. You're definitely not going to crease this thing. It's going to be, you know, it's going to last you forever. So if you're interested in having one of these boards made for you, just let me know and I'll make sure that I get one out to you. And the prices are going to be very inexpensive. So Babillas, oh cool. So notice I'm dusting on this side because on the shadow side it's always darker, am I right? So everything has to be darker on this side. So I'm just going to establish a darker value about 5 inches away, and notice I'm dusting over the whole side, and that's going to help me to establish, you know, a light and dark pattern. Hey, what's happening there, Mr. Patrick? Clutch, good to see you. So glad you made it, my friend. Okay, and so you see I love to move around. Notice I don't stay in one area because I don't want things to pool up like a puddle, right? I want to make sure that I keep things on the dry side. I'm just going to check really fast who that is. Okay. All right, so we are continuing with this. Let's see. So with the airbrush, I can definitely start getting some of the subtle details in the face. So when I come in with pastel, I have a really wonderful foundation to work with. Yes, so Patrick, this is an underpainting with the Airbrush India inks, of course, and the airbrush for a pastel painting. And so next week we're going to start going in with color. This is just an introductory to how I apply an underpainting for a pastel. Well, like I said, this live stream is the only place you're really going to get this kind of information because this is basically my own thing. And also, uh, with my mentorship program, I actually am teaching this. So if you're a pastel painter, you can definitely get something from this. If you're an airbrush painter, you can get something from my mentorship program, only $100 a month. And that gives you every week a one-on-one 2-hour session working around your time schedule, because this is my full-time thing. I understand that everyone out there, you know, they have jobs and kids and everything, and I work around your schedule. I have about 10 students currently who have been with me at least a year, and there's really only like 5 to 6 more slots open. So please, if you're interested, just contact me or go to inkflingers.com. And it's like I said, it's $100 a month for my mentorship program. When I went to art school, I had to travel from New Jersey to New York every day, and that was a little crazy. It was a bus across the Hudson River, and then I had to take 2 subways and walk like 4 city blocks each way in the snow. But no, I just say that to say this: what a great opportunity to study with somebody like me. And so for me, I love teaching, right? But I also need to survive. So if you do decide to take my classes, you're helping me to survive and to pay my rent and my gas and electric and everything. But I guarantee that I will help you make your artistic dreams come true. I will pull out the artist inside you that you don't even know that's there. And that I can promise you. And so that's going to be great. So definitely that's something that I implore you, if you are very busy during the week with family obligations, but you still have the dream of being an artist, a painter, and you know you can do it, or even if you're not sure, but you really, really are passionate about it, take my mentorship course. I guarantee that you won't be sorry. And give me at least 2 months and you'll start doing things you never thought possible. And so that's my specialty. My painting of her right now is looking like Charlize Theron, right? So let's see. Thank you. So Mr. Lang, Steve is one of my students, and he says it's the best thing he's ever done, my mentorship program. And a vow you will not regret, Tim's mentorship class. Thank you so much. John's also one of my students. I appreciate that. And then Clutch says the information you get from Tim is so valuable that he seriously cashed out at the casino and rushed home to catch this live feed. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Thank you, Patrick. And Colette says she agrees. Colette's also one of my students, and Patrick is one of my students. The best advertisement is a happy student, and I give 100% to my students. I really do. And because it's important to me. I'm passionate. And when I see my students learn something new and they get excited, that rubs off on me. I mean, I'm like, whoa, that's incredible. I feel really amazed. I feel amazing because I remember what it was like when I was a student. So, that's great. And it keeps me from my art becoming ho-hum. So I love, love, love being a teacher. Love it. Really enjoy it. And now I'm going to slowly start removing some of those pencil lines. They're slowly going away. Hey, Clutch, Patrick, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat and for the support. I really, really appreciate it, sir. I always look forward to my class with you. And I thank you so much for your encouragement. Really, it means so much to me. Oh, your winnings today. All right, in the casino. That's great. I love when you win, Clutch. And Brad says, Tim, classes are no gamble, a sure thing. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. You guys are fantastic and always very encouraging. And Nameless says, I feel the same way when I'm working late. Feels like a kid rushing home from school on a special day. Uncle Tim is visiting. Ah, thank you. Thank you so much, Nameless. I appreciate you. And I do notice when you're not here because the live stream just isn't the same without you, sir. And I look at you all as my friends because, I don't socialize that much in regular life. So you guys are really important to me. And, maybe it might be I'm out of touch with reality or something, but you guys are important to me. And I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday night. And I look forward to seeing you all on Saturday night now. I really do. That's great. John says art is life. Yes, definitely. It feeds off of life, doesn't it? Right? It's how we are creating, and I think the act of creation brings us closer to God, and that to me is a win-win, right? Speaking of win-wins, that's a real win-win, that you are closer to God and you get to do something you love and you create, and that's just amazing. Okay, so where am I ignoring, right? Oh, hey Paula, how you doing? Miss you. So glad you're here. Oh, that's cool. And I know, Paula's great. She hung in there with Mr. John when he was going through his surgery and everything. So I admire you, Paula, definitely. And Mike says Tim starts every painting in black and white because when he was learning, color wasn't invented yet. Well, it was invented, but it was brand new. It was a new thing, so they weren't sure whether they were going to keep the color because black and white was working. Yeah, that was a good one. See how I'm just slowly doing it? Like I have no, I'm just taking my time, and so good to see you, Paula, definitely. Oh, look at this. So this is what I'm doing today, working on this particular piece. So I also do full-blown airbrush paintings, of course. So this is an airbrush painting I'm working on. It's, just studying the male nude. And as you can see, it's the textures and everything that you can get with that. And so, it's the skin texture everyone asks me, Tim, how do you paint skin texture? And basically it's just really paying attention to the values and how light scatters on skin. So that's what I've been working on. And also, this is a print of my work, and that's a painting I did last year, a print of my painting. It's on metal, and so, you know, I love, and this is an airbrush, so you can see there's so many techniques that they all really support one another. Thank you, Colette. I appreciate that. And I really appreciate that. Nameless says, wow, that's amazing. It would be a lot nicer if he was a she, but still lots of detail. Interesting. I love the female nude. Everyone knows that. That's my favorite subject. But since I started working with the male nude, I really have been, my female nudes are much better because you learn a lot about form with the male nude that you won't learn with the female nude, because, you know, with the muscles and everything being more three-dimensional on the, or more pronounced three dimensions in the male nude, it really accents the, you know, my work when I'm working, you know, with the female form. So it's very interesting how they kind of come together. Ah, thank you, sir. So Steve said he likes the detail on the clothes of that print of my painting I did. Thank you, sir. Yeah, that was rough. You know, all those little squares. That was not easy. But I like challenging myself, you know, as much as I can. You know, pushing myself to my technical limits and really saying, okay, I'm going to really test the waters here. And I like doing that. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so now we're working on, so I think I have to bring the camera forward a little bit so you guys can see her body. So we'll work on that. And we're over the 1 hour mark, but that's okay. You know, I'm here for you guys, so I want to go a little further. So a little overtime action for everybody. Ugh. So I have this really expensive, tripod that it actually extends outward. And I could move it around. Let me push it over there so you see that. So that's how I take the live stream to that next level. This is 9 by 12. Remember, I'm always working 8.5 by 11, so it's a little bit bigger than normal. Okay, so let's see. Keep going, Tim. Keep going. Clutch says. Oh, so the model is a friend of mine who lives in Milan. Her name is Denise Francesca. She's amazing. And so she allows me to paint her every now and then, and I'm very thankful. And I painted her 3 times, and I'm going to paint her again soon. Is she in Milan? I think she's in Rome, so my bad. I think she's in Rome. Yes, very true. The shape of the eyes does, Mike, have, and plus it's early because, you know, we're always painting the light and not the likeness. So in the early going, we're not going to get the likeness of our model. We're just basically getting the large light pattern. So yeah, so it has like, she's going to take on a metamorphosis, so to speak, and looking like different people in the early stages. So very interesting. Yes, so Angelina Jolie, who's amazing. Okay, so we can continue working. So here's our sternocleidomastoid coming down, right over here, and that's in sort of a half shadow here, very light, and then it's darker over here. I'm about 4 inches away, right, about 4 inches away. And hey Michael, how you doing? Thank you so much. Michael Carter. He's an artist. If you guys don't know him, he's on Facebook. You can look him up under Michael Carter, and he's an amazing artist. So thank you for stopping by. I really appreciate that, my friend. So of course, Michael, this is black and white underpainting using the India inks for pastel painting. So I'm glad you're able to see this, and I think you'll be interested because it works great with pastel, and what a great way to go from black and white to color. And we just continue going down her trapezius into her chromium process and her deltoids, just like so. Get that transition tone over here. There we go. Very, very light, as you know. Those of you seen my paintings, you know, my Wednesday night live streams, you know that I start super light, painfully light for some people. But you know what? I'm thinking like a chess player, several moves ahead. Sun Tzu, the Art of War, every battle is won or lost before it's ever fought. So, you know, take care of what you have to take care of when you can take care of it. What a great thing to pastel over a beautiful black and white drawing and value study, and then come over with pastel. You know, you're setting yourself up to succeed, right? You know, and that's what I love about the 19th century French painters, is that they set themselves up to succeed, and if you follow their techniques, they will set you up to succeed. And that's what I do in my mentorship class, is I set you up to succeed because of all my years of doing it. I always found a better mousetrap, and that's going to be, you know, your secret weapon. And it's important that I get you all to do this on your own, you know, on your own projects, and how, you know, how you can avoid things like blue shift and all those other things that are the bane of existence for, you know, airbrush painters. So that's cool. Everyone's saying hello to Mr. Michael. Nameless says, Tim, that print is on metal, or the original is on metal, or both. Also, who is the model? The one from a minute ago. So, yes, so that is, the painting is originally on the Canson paper with, you know, with the airbrush and my Airbrush India inks. And so, yes, and that, the print is on metal, which is cool. And If you're anyone interested in purchasing that print, let me know. I have them in 5x7, and I also have those prints in 8x10 and on metal. Okay, so it looks like I'm out of ink. So this is what I learned today. Even though I'm far away, and like, so earlier today I was working on a painting, and thank God I had it, covered. And I went like this, and I was far away, and I put it in there, and when I looked, for somehow it actually jumped onto my painting. But I was able to salvage it because I had frisket over it. But oh my God, so see how far away I am. I'm like, no way, Jose, I'm not going near that. So remember, don't let that be something to destroy your painting. So I'm going to do half and half detail and half water. And I'm going to make sure I'm at least six feet away from my painting. Well, I'll say 4 feet, and then I'll put half and half with the water. So as far as the model reference, I can't give that away because that's Francesca's. So, but the price is $29.95 for the 5x7 and $39.95 for the 8x10 if you're interested, sir. But I can't give the reference, unfortunately. I don't have the rights to that. Francesca does. So she was kind enough to let me paint her. I wish I could. See, that's why I like taking my own pictures, because I didn't take that picture of Francesca. So if it was taking my own pictures, I could have just sent that to you, of course. So one of the many advantages of taking your own photos and learning, portrait photography in the studio. Oh, let me get back to my reference here. Oh no, this is she's a friend of mine, so that's why I can't just give it out. But yeah, if it was like something on Pexels or something that was public domain, or it was my own photo, I definitely would share that with you, sir. Guys, I'm going to use Little Boy's Room, Talks Among Yourselves, and then I'm going to finish working on her body, and then we'll call it the night. But I've given you extra time because I think you guys are amazing. Be right back. I am back and better. Well, I'm just back. How you doing, guys? Thanks for waiting. And so I appreciate that. And let's see. Who says, friendly reminder, click on the thumb to give Tim a like. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. And let's see what else I missed. Clutch says $100 and up was a roller coaster getting there. Oh, wow. Unbelievable. That's cool. And so that's cool. So I'm so glad that you had fun at the casino there, Mr. Patrick. So I like hearing that. And let's see what else. Mike says that's worth a few gallons of gas. So that's really cool. Fantastic. So, okay, so back to this young lady here. And let's see, where are we? I guess I gotta pay attention to my reference, and that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna be working on her shoulder right here. Go so you can see how I'm making her shoulder turn. It's darker over here because it's kind of turned away from the light over here and kind of fades out. And then as it turns towards the light, as you can see, I get further and further away from the subject, away from the board. And you see how I could make that shoulder turn. Distance is your friend, so always remember that. Okay, we have her clavicle, which people call it the collarbone, but it's the clavicle. And that actually connects to the sternum, which also connects to the sternocleidomastoid on both sides. Learn the sternocleidomastoid if you're doing portraits, because it is the muscle that comes from behind the ear, which is the mastoid process, and it connects to the clavicle and the sternum. Thus the name sternocleidomastoid. Sternocleidomastoid. So it's a very important muscle. So you need to know it if you're going to paint the portrait. And that's going back to, you know, why do I only do portraits? Because I want to do them in such a way that's extraordinary. At least that's my hope, right? If I keep working hard my whole life, I could really be really proficient and maybe be one of the best one day. And that's what I'm hoping. So as you can see, what a great beginning, right? It really is. And oh, so Clutch says, Tim, I felt like I needed to get home and watch. I feel like Tim Smith art feed junkie. Thanks, my friend. I appreciate that. It's so good to see you. So yeah, I'm the same way. I love seeing you all. And so today I was, you know, working on other projects, and I was like, oh my God, I need to prepare this wood. The wood wasn't prepared. So around 4 o'clock, I got busy making my marble dust, gesso, and water mixture. And then I did 3 coats, you know, 1 coat letting it dry, another coat letting it dry, 3rd coat letting it dry. So I had time. And of course, you know, you can't do certain techniques that I can do with paper to get the drawing onto the subject. So I had to get out my trusty projector, and voila. And you know what? I was like, where's my projector? Couldn't find my projector. I actually put it away in the closet on the shelf in a box. How cool was that? So I was actually really doing things the right way when I put that away. And still having fun here. And as you can see, let's work on her forehead. Foreheads are always forgotten, am I right? You know, they're afterthoughts. So we can't let that happen with our painting. So I'm just going to bring this value. I'm about 6 inches away from the board now. Size of the board, yes, Clutch, is 9 by 12, correct. And it's this board you can get from Dick Blick. It's a hard board, 9 by 12. You see that? And they're real inexpensive. I think they're like $1 each. So I usually get about 6 of them. No, I usually get about 12 of them when I do order. And they're a great size because they're easy to ship, they're easy to frame. So when you're selling the paintings, it's great. You can also work on the tabletop. You can work on the easel. So they're great. It's a great size. I love 9 by 12. When you start getting 11 by 14, 16 by 20, it becomes a different animal. And you are not able to, you know, work on a table. You pretty much have to do it on the easel at that point. Okay, so we have the cast shadow from her shoulder coming down, and then we have the clavicle right here. So what I'm going to do when I finish the underpaint, I'm going to finish it off camera, so when we come back we are going to hit the ground running with pastel. And that's going to be fun. So it's going to be it's going to be very informative for everybody. So I hope to see you next week. And God willing, I'll be here. And we'll go forward with this technique. It'll be a lot of fun. And let's see. Nameless says, wow, $1 is cheap. Do you have to be prepared before? Yes. I'm going to show you the boards of how they come. I'll be right back. So let me put this young lady aside for a sec. And these are them prepared. Whoa. And of course they're just plain when you get them, right? So this is the 6x6s. I sell the 6x6s and I sell the 9x12. 6x6 is a great thing if you want to do a portrait. It's just a wonderful size, easy to frame. They make beautiful paintings. People love them. So this is the look how it looks. You know, it really is amazing when they're done. They feel like bone, and so it's basically, this is a technique that I learned from my teacher, Harvey Dinnerstein. And that was carried down from his teacher and his teacher before him. So this comes all the way back many, many generations, this technique. Now, I made some differences to the formula I learned from Harvey because I have my own preferences. But let me see if I can show you the texture. Let's see. Okay, so see the texture? See how it's such an interesting texture, almost the way like bone is. And this is blown up, of course, but it looks really wonderful when you're doing a portrait. And that is, it actually gives the skin a real feeling of skin. It really is quite exciting. So that basically is. So I prepared all those boards today, made my mixture and everything. Take care, Michael. Great to see you. Thank you for hanging out. And so Cool Kid says, great feed once again, and thanks for sharing. It's good to see you, sir. Yes, and I need to find, Clutch says he needs to find him one of those heavy doodle metal pole art classroom type easels. Yeah, those are great, definitely. And so basically, it's like 9:30, so I'm going to go ahead and continue this painting on my own, but you can just see how the underpainting is going. And when we come back, we're going to go in with airbrush, and then let me see if I have the other painting here. So Wednesday, I want you guys to join me for part 3 of this painting in airbrush. So definitely join me for that. So that's going to be a lot of fun working on that and getting that resolved. So that's going to be Wednesday night at 9:30. And so this is very cool. You know, I'm going to be taking all you airbrush people over to Pastel. The Pastel people, I'm going to take you to airbrush. So I'm going to be the stir that mixed the coffee, so to speak. So that's really cool. Guys, have a great night. Always a pleasure. And thank you, everybody. You all are amazing and special to me. And Patrick, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. I really, really appreciate that. It helps support the channel. If you want to help support the channel, guys, go on inkflingers.com. There's a lot of stuff. I sell the inks, the airbrush. You can support the channel, t-shirts, hats, and also the mentorship program. So everyone, take care, and I hope you have a great rest of the weekend. I'm going to go answer that phone call.